It's not about religion.
I dated an atheist. Before any of you go into automatic default judgment on the statement, there's a reason that I'm sharing I dated an atheist. Earlier today, I did a live with you all here on TikTok talking about my story and my history, my dating life, my background. And I mentioned that in the early 2000s, I dated an atheist, which at that time I was a traditionalist professing Christian, and he was a professing atheist. Now, we were not a couple, we dated, we hung out for a while. Okay. And I'm bringing up this topic not with the intention of influencing people to adopt belief systems. I'm not into that. I think journeys need to be individually taken and one must come to awareness on one's own. But rather, I focus more on being humane. And I believe my own soul's journey had to do with deconstruction and dealing with some of the toxic roots in my own bloodline that are carnated into. And also learning to not associate and judge people by these subscriptions and labels, because in everything on this earth, you have, air quote, good and evil, right? No matter what background. And this automatic assumption when people subscribe to I'm this and I'm that could get you really caught up in a thither. So I'd had a history of dating professing Christians, even have been proposed to by professing Christians, people who preach, people who teach, people who are known, people who have written books, okay? And in these situations, I encountered a lot of disrespect. I encountered a lot of mistreatment, a lot of game playing, a lot of lies, a lot of secrets. And these were from professing Christian men. When I dated this atheist, I'm not saying that he's Mr. Wonderful and that everything was perfect, but what I am saying is in that connection, I experienced the least amount of disrespect. I experienced the least amount of game playing. In other words, everything was on the table. I knew what it was. He knew what it was. He wasn't condescending in his manners with me and the way he treated me. We hung out. We had a good time. Okay? He didn't play the games. He didn't dangle carrots. He didn't send me mixed signals. Any of that. Okay? We respected each other's positions. The discussions that we had, when we had them, it wasn't abrasive, and it wasn't with the intention of so-called trying to convert one another. And we really left those things at that and spent most of the time when we did hang out, just hanging out, doing what we were doing. Okay? And I was a young woman at that time, and he was even younger than me, so it doesn't even have anything to do with age. Why am I sharing this? Because if my experience dealing with professing Christians led more to the path of abuse, misuse of power, blatant disrespect, a lack of empathy, a lack of compassion, secrets, game playing, usury, right? Where does the subscription to one's belief systems, and I want to just add, whether it's Christianity or spirituality or anything, the point of the topic is evaluating by people's behavior and conduct, and to assume that because he was an atheist that, run, because at that time, the traditions in which I was supporting would state that that's unequally yoked. Don't, they're the devil, right? They're going to take you down. They're here to destroy you, right? All of the things in which those of us from this particular background, we know what they say. But how come is it that that's where I had the most respectful treatment? And the so-called professing Christian situations, which were more than one, so it wasn't like it was just one person or from one demographic even. Why is it that in these situations, this is where there was most womanizing behavior? This is where there were secrets. This is where people were plotting against my back, doing things behind my back. Not really serious, but dangling a carrot to get something. Okay? the under the cuff passive aggressive slights, the lack of regard. Why is that? So what is that? I'm hoping that this just opens people up to realize that, my dear, you're fucked up is fucked up. And you have fucked up energy in any arena. And my personal resonance is because subscriptions to any belief system, whether this is traditional religions and spirituality, does not deal with the fragmentation of energy or one's soul issues or trauma. In fact, it often make it worse when people aren't dealing with that because things are progressive. So for us to just assume, we've all done that. I did that. We don't want to be unequally yoked. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We've all done that. Yet, in these so-called supposed to be equally yoked situations, and then what is equally yoked? See, everybody's going to have something else to say to that. Is it that you all make the same amount of money? You have the same status level? What does that really mean? What does the subscription mean? You subscribe to this and he subscribed to that, and vice versa. What does that mean? At the end of the day, what is the behavior? Period. Do they have capacity to be reciprocal and mutually respectable, to be straightforward and forthcoming? See, in the situation when I dated this atheist, it gave me an opportunity. If I wasn't okay with what he was bringing and presenting in the scenario, I had full opportunity to say, I don't want to do that because he's not offering much. I'm not saying that this situation was ideal. I'm saying that he wasn't misleading. And he didn't send mixed signals. He didn't play games. He didn't just call me at his, convenience. When I would call him and want to hook up or hang out, he would answer and respond accordingly. He didn't expect me to be monogamous in the connection because he was not monogamous in the connection. But see, that's a level of maturity. So if a professing atheist had the capacity to be decent, then what defines what helps people to be decent? This is the only thing I've been really trying to advocate strongly for. I know there's a lot of information out there, and the deconstruction, at least on my side, is just to show people that there's holes, there's flaws, and hypocrisy and double standards in everything. And oftentimes, all that stuff is being used to weaponize mistreatment of people or to be judgy of people who are different than ourselves. And that I'm not okay with. I am about human decency and being humane and mature enough to have healthy connections with people. Very simple. So by an atheist being able to produce that, it proves that our religion and subscriptions and spirituality is not an automatic badge of honor. And it's not an automatic equating to someone who is healthy, to someone who is going to be respectable or honorable to you. Because at the end of the day, if we don't do the work on the journey that every last one of us is on earth to do, to work through something, if we don't all learn to heal and grow and transform, none of our subscriptions hold any weight if we can't be decent folk. If we're staying stagnated in immaturity towards people, if we're using people, if we're mistreating people, if we're abusive to people, especially people that are different than us, using people as a stepping stool and calling ourselves a particular subscription when that was the motivation to begin with. None of us are perfect, but I do appreciate the experience that I had, because dating that particular atheist way back in the early 2000s, in retrospect, has shown me that it was never about, my soul came here to figure that out. It's never about that. It's about people being healthy and whole and sound enough to be able to be decent towards one another. Your subscription doesn't automatically make you ready.